So I wanted to give now the word to Mr. Meyer-Guckel, because besides that he is at the Donors Association, he is Secretary General of the Donors Association for Science in Germany, and he is head of the funding department. So, and it's maybe also in this function that we invited him.
The question was, does policy matter in building partnerships? The answer is yes. The second question is, do we have a policy for that matter in Germany? The answer is no. I could leave it like that, but I was asked to say a few more words from the background of my institution. My institution is the biggest private funding institution in Germany. We are a company-based joint initiative. And we also administer 500 private foundations who give money to education and higher education and research. And if you take all together, we are one of the biggest private funders in Germany. Last year, I might add that our main funding areas, the one I'm responsible for, are university development and the subject of society and science. And last year, for that matter, we initiated a contest, a best practice competition within the German university system to find best practices, or at least good practices, in that field of community outreach, civil engagement, service learning, as a part of a university strategy. We call it third mission, as other countries also call it third mission. This third mission is not very well established in Germany. That has cultural reasons. That also has reasons because funding organizations more or less concentrate on education and research. A little bit of education. And the third mission, community outreach, dialogue, civil engagement, is not really on the agenda, neither of the funding organization nor of the heads of universities. And if I look around here, there's only one head of one university engaged in that matter that I find. So even here, you find a lot of people who are engaged in this subject, but not the ones who actually decide about university development and university strategy. So that may be one of the problems. We initiated this competition with another foundation, the Meyer-Guckel Foundation, who works on a similar field, and we got 74 applications from 74 universities out of 320, so that's 1/4 of the German university system, which is good. But we actually looked for universities' strategies on that, not only for projects. So if you ask, did we find university strategies on that subject? Not really. 3 or 4. And they're all represented on this conference, actually. So there's a lot of development and challenges for this subject in Germany. And the question is, why is that so? First of all, I probably talk to the already converted. It's the incentive and reputational system within the scientific community. We heard about impact factors, we heard about third-party funding mechanisms, which are not really oriented in this field. We heard that in the contracts between the state, who is funding universities, and the universities, we have contract agreements on how universities should develop in Germany. These factors don't really matter. Gender matters, internationalization matters, but as a cross-university task, these outreach activities hardly matter. When you regard these agreements, so there's not a real awareness within university system, within the university leaders, but I must also admit there's not really a strong movement from the CESOs as well. So, I mean, I heard a couple of presentations this morning where you said it's difficult to get these people into the universities to ask their questions. And I think this is also a matter of policy building. There's a lot of civil society organizations, but they have to also have a strategy to get involved in a discourse on scientific agendas, which is not really there sometimes. They have subjects where they try to get involved, but they have no real agendas. How to strategically and you know, with a sustainable effect, get involved into the discourse on a scientific agenda. So, what I would like to strengthen is the link between these different fields. I think there's a strong connection between the dialogue part, which Eva might stress in her contribution, the dialogue, which is a certain community in itself in Germany. You know, there has been a lot of activities on you know, community outreach of researchers, but it still has this number one stage. It's very one-way focused. It's not really reciprocal. It's not really participatory in its structure. It's still more or less marketing for science, you know, for what you are doing as a university, not really dialogue-based. And it's not an open discourse about agendas, certainly not. You find it here and there, but certainly not on the on national level. It's about research, and it's also about a different concept of learning. Yeah, I mean, the basic impression of researchers in German university is not another task. Yeah? Community outreach, oh, not another task. There's so much research. There's so much, you know, third-party funding, application processes and management. There's so much education. Students, stay away from us. We want to do research. Yeah? And now the democracy, yeah, society. No, it's not another task. So you have to get a sort of awareness in these people who really do good research, that you might benefit in your research, they might benefit in your teaching, that you might create a new idea of teaching if you apply formats like experimental learning, action learning, service learning, and matters like that. So how could we change this? As I indicated, make it a regular component in your mission, in your overall goals as a university, in your agreements, goal achievement agreements between state and university, like gender, like internationalization. Community outreach has to become another of these overall factors, and create special funding programs that are integrated in a basic funding of universities. I mean, we have hardly any money for these projects, and if we do have money, it's always limited for a couple of years. So even if you have good examples, they more or less die after this first phase of funding. So you have to get special programs. Look to the ministry, a representative. You have to get this into your research funding strategies. Because interestingly enough, there are certain ministries in Germany who have this subject on their radar, but it's the Ministry of Youth and Health and Family, and they don't have money. This is the ministry that has money, but not always this subject in its radar. But what I would, as a last statement, what I would also like to suggest is, let's be creative about new forms of funding, maybe. All these things and these new formats of dialogue between society and policy and science also has a strong link to the new developments in the internet, World Wide Web, crowd intelligence, and whatever you may call it. So there are ideas, you know, peeping up like crowdfundings. If you really talk about demand-driven research, why don't you define a research project and see whether, you know, by micropayments, you get a certain number of people who might, through crowdfunding, fund your project. We're just initiating this in Germany. next month as a test to see how it's, you know, how much potential is in this kind of new ways of dialogue and presenting research to the public domain. And maybe we can find other ways of funding apart from the necessary ministry funding.
Yeah.